welcome back to The Explainer. So, today we are digging into some really fascinating source material. The title? Top Exercises, Lose Belly Fat, Tighten Your Waist. Right off the bat, you'd totally expect us to be going over, high-intensity interval training or maybe the perfect plank form to shred that core. Well, okay, let's dive into this, because what we actually get in this transcript is honestly entirely different and frankly, absolutely wild. On one hand, we've got this super upbeat, highly optimized, algorithm-friendly title, right? It's energetic, it's totally goal-oriented. But then, the very first coherent phrase in the actual text is, literally, look away to cry as you fade away. Yeah, you heard that right. It is just this staggering, totally jarring disconnect between the SEO-friendly packaging and this incredibly bleak opening line. We are definitely not tightening our waist here. We are just immediately plunged into this deep state of emotional fading. So that brings us to section 1, the existential reality. Basically, a heavy monologue. Now, what's really interesting about this is how the text introduces a very specific trigger for this whole emotional state. The speaker actually redefines the concept of a Monday. The text literally says, because every time I wake up, I feel like it's Monday, something's going wrong with all the chemicals update my brain, all of a sudden, I don't look at anything the same way. So basically, Monday isn't just the start of the work week anymore, right? It's a full-on biochemical phenomenon. It's this sudden systemic glitch. The chemicals update the brain, not to, prep you for a massive workout, but to completely alter the speaker's grasp on reality, making everything feel totally unfamiliar and just fundamentally wrong. If we break down this cognitive descent like it's a step-by-step fitness routine, here are the actual reps the text puts us through. Step 1, you wake up feeling like it's this biochemical Monday. Step 2, your internal chemistry forces a complete mental update. Step 3, boom, a total paradigm shift where you just stop looking at anything the same way. And finally, step 4, which is described as, gotta build up on my thoughts sitting in a nice tray. I mean, what a fascinating visual, right? It's almost like meal prep, but instead of portioning out chicken and broccoli, the speaker is carefully arranging all these heavy, intrusive thoughts on a tray, just preparing to consume pure existential dread. Let's move to and see how this builds in section 2, the inconvenient mindset. Get ready for some emotional heavy lifting. At this point, the protagonist of the text is carrying this immense, crushing psychological weight. They start apologizing, saying point blank, I'm sorry that I'm so inconvenient, okay. They just ask to, quote, just let me be me, followed by this really solemn promise to stay out of the way. So the crucial point is that this individual feels like a massive burden to the world around them. Remember, this isn't about physical endurance anymore. It's about the sheer endurance required just to exist. There's this deep, lingering resentment for even being here, which is really only countered by the dark comfort that fading away is still on the table. And that brings us to what is easily the absolute peak of the routine we've been analyzing. I never really asked to be brought into this place. Okay, but I know fade away, it's still available. I mean, wow. Just let the sheer emotional weight of those words sit with you for a second. This is profound, profound dread. And we have to continuously remind ourselves of the context here. This heavy, emo text is literally hiding under a banner promising simple exercises to get rid of belly fat. The juxtaposition is just mind-boggling. The promise of physical self-improvement is basically serving as a Trojan horse for this devastatingly sad commentary on existence. All right, shifting gears to section 3, auto caption anomalies. Let's look at some digital artifacts. So, this really bizarre pattern emerges when you look at the frequency of certain phrases in the text. And this brilliantly illustrates the totally glitchy, robotic nature of our source. The phrase thank you pops up 5 times, and the word foreign appears 4 times. But here's the catch. They aren't even part of the core narrative. They act as bookends. The text actually kicks off with thank you, foreign, foreign. And wraps up with, it's always thank you foreign, thank you foreign, thank you foreign. It's literally as if some automated transcription software is just completely malfunctioning, desperately trying to decode audio it clearly doesn't understand. And in the process, it wraps this deeply human, depressive poetry in these cold, repetitive, robotic glitches. It just adds this crazy layer of digital surrealism to the whole shebang. To summarize exactly what we've been looking at, the data breakdown of the transcript's actual content is, well, incredibly revealing. Check this out. A whopping 45% of the text is dedicated to pure existential dread and those biochemical Mondays. Then, 30% is spent with the speaker just apologizing for their very existence and promising to stay out of the way. Another 25% is completely made up of those bizarre auto-caption glitches we just talked about, like foreign and thank you. And finally, making up exactly 0% of the text, actual fitness advice. Yep, not a single mention of belly fat. The disconnect is literally 100% complete. Which leaves us with one final, unavoidable question to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. You clicked on this, or maybe searched for it, completely expecting a physical routine, right? A simple way to tighten up a waistline. But instead, you were handed a tray of heavy thoughts and a front row seat to a digital existential crisis. So, if fading away is presented as the only viable option in this text, what kind of heavy mental exercise were we actually tricked into doing today? It certainly wasn't for our abs, but hey, perhaps it was a strange, surreal workout for our empathy and our understanding of just how bizarre the internet can truly be.